in the investigation into the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells. His mother is speaking out to the community tonight, asking on social media for anyone with information, videos, or pictures involving Nolan Wells on July 4th to come forward and contact Jackson County authorities.
There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed, hey Ma, come on, take a picture of me. You know, like that was Nolan.
Nolan Wells went to an island with his friends on the 4th of July. His friends came home. Nolan didn't. The explanation investigators were reportedly given sounds simple. Nolan voluntarily stayed behind on Horn Island, expecting to catch another boat back to the Mississippi mainland. But then Nolan's family found out his friends had returned with two things he supposedly left behind: his keys and his phone. And once his mother began checking that phone, the story became even harder to understand. Its location data appeared to conflict with what the family had been told. Nolan's Snapchat accounts appeared empty, and a viral video that his family's attorney initially believed captured Nolan demanding his phone back apparently did not feature Nolan at all. So now there aren't just questions about what happened to Nolan. There are questions about which evidence can actually be trusted. Because somewhere between approximately 3 p.m. on July 4th and the discovery of Nolan's body on July 6th, an 18-year-old college football player disappeared from an island covered with people. And no publicly established timeline yet explains exactly how. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old and preparing to return to Southwest Mississippi Community College, where he played wide receiver. His family described him as an elite athlete, a strong swimmer, and a peacemaker. Someone more likely to calm down a confrontation than to create one. Take note of that. On July 4th, Nolan traveled by private boat with his friends to Horn Island, a narrow barrier island several miles off Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Horn Island is uninhabited. There are no roads leading back to the mainland, no hotel, no permanent shelter. Once your boat leaves, you need another boat to even get home. But this wasn't an empty island that afternoon. Attorneys for Nolan's family said approximately 200 people may have been there celebrating the holiday. That detail matters, because if Nolan experienced some kind of emergency, the central question becomes, how did nobody see it happen? Nolan was reportedly last seen alive sometime during the afternoon. Chancery Court Judge Ashley Cole, whose son was among the friends traveling with Nolan, later said her son last saw Nolan at approximately 3 p.m. Cole said the group's boat began taking on water because of a bilge pump problem, according to her statement. The group left the island at approximately 4:30 p.m. without Nolan. Her explanation was that Nolan had chosen to stay behind and planned to return later with another group. That is the account that initially appeared to explain why Nolan's friends reached the mainland without him. But it creates the first major problem in this timeline, because another witness reportedly gave Ben Crump's team a different version of Nolan's plans. According to Ben Crump, a young woman who interacted with Nolan on the island said Nolan told her he was going back to his friend's boat. But Nolan's friends reportedly told investigators that Nolan had decided to stay behind, possibly because he wanted to spend more time with a young woman he had met that day. Those two accounts cannot both describe Nolan's final decision. Either Nolan intended to leave with the friends who bought him, or Nolan intended to remain on the island and find another ride. And this is not a minor disagreement over a precise time or an imperfect memory. It changes the entire theory of what happened next. If Nolan knowingly stayed, investigators need to determine who he expected to leave with, whether that person agreed to take him, and who saw him after his original group departed. But if Nolan planned to return to the original boat, then investigators need to explain why the boat left without him, and why the people aboard believed he had changed his mind. Benjamin Crump summarized the contradiction bluntly. One account is accurate, the other is not. But even if investigators eventually establish which version is true, it still doesn't explain the most uncomfortable detail in this case. Nolan's friends returned with his phone and his keys. So then how could he say he was staying on the island if he knew he didn't have two of his most important possessions? Think about the explanation being offered. An 18-year-old allegedly chose to remain on an uninhabited island several miles from the mainland without the friends who transported him there. But he didn't take his phone and he did not take his keys. According to Nolan's friends Tristan Shepard, several people left their phones aboard the boat because they expected to spend much of the day in the water. That could explain why Nolan's phone was not physically on him earlier in the day, but it does not completely answer what happened when the group prepared to leave. Did Nolan know his phone was still on the boat? Did anyone attempt to return it? Maybe turn the boat around to give him his belongings? Did the group believe Nolan had another way to contact whoever was supposed to take him home? And when exactly did the phone travel back to the mainland? Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, said she used an application to locate his phone after he failed to return home. A friend then went to the phone's location on land and recovered it. The family says the location information they reviewed appeared inconsistent with what they believed they were seeing through Nolan's Snapchat activity. That does not prove that Nolan himself returned to the mainland. A phone's location only establishes where the device was, not necessarily where its owner was. But it does establish something investigators will have to reconstruct precisely. Who possessed Nolan's phone at every stage of the trip? When did it leave Horn Island? And did anybody access it after Nolan was last seen? Because when Nolan's family examined the device, they discovered another disturbing detail. Nolan's mother said her son regularly used Snapchat and maintained 2 accounts. But after his disappearance, she said both accounts appeared to contain no saved pictures or messages.
There were no snaps from that day, and we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning.
In her words, there was absolutely nothing. That has led to online claims that Nolan's Snapchat was deliberately scrubbed. But right now, that conclusion has not been publicly proven. There may be several possible explanations for an account appearing empty. Deleted content, settings, unsaved posts, account access, technical limitations, or a misunderstanding of what data should have been visible. That is why the phone needs a proper forensic examination, not social media speculation. Crump has said the family plans to use experts to determine whether messages or other data were deleted. The family also says it intends to provide the device to investigators who have requested it. Until that examination is completed, the phone is not proof of one particular theory. It's a collection of unanswered questions. But for several days, many people believed another piece of evidence had finally captured what happened between Nolan and his friends. A video showed a confrontation on Horn Island. A man could be heard shouting about a phone, and Ben Crump initially said the voice belonged to Nolan. Except now, someone who was present says that was not Nolan's voice at all. The viral clip appeared to capture an argument on the island. Because Nolan's phone was already a major point of contention, the audio seemed explosive. Many people reported on it. Crump publicly interpreted the recording as Nolan demanding that someone return his phone. That interpretation spread quickly. But Tristan Shepard has now said he was the person yelling in the video, not Nolan. Shepard said the confrontation began as an argument involving him and his girlfriend before escalating with someone else. He told both Good Morning America and Rolling Stone that Nolan was not the person heard shouting. 2 other people reportedly supported Shepard's account. That means the video may not be evidence of Nolan fighting over his phone at all. And that correction matters. You know, some of the people that jump out there with theories, sometimes they're going for speed over accuracy most of the time. A family asking legitimate questions deserves accurate answers, not a viral theory that becomes accepted as fact simply because it appears to fit the story. But debunking that video does not solve Nolan's death. It only removes one possible clue. We are still left with an unexplained gap between the last confirmed sighting of Nolan and the discovery. And according to authorities, there is currently no publicly announced evidence that somebody killed him. Investigators have reportedly leaned toward the possibility of drowning while continuing to review witness statements, video, and forensic evidence. An independent autopsy is said to be ordered by Benjamin Crump to find any inconsistencies in the official autopsy from Mississippi. But Nolan's family is not prepared to accept the conclusion without knowing how it happened. Nolan's body was found early on the morning of July 6 near the northwest end of Horn Island. A National Park Service ranger reportedly discovered him at approximately 8:45 a.m. That was more than a day after Nolan was last seen alive. The unresolved portion of this case is not simply how Nolan died. It is what Nolan did and who saw him during his final known hours. If he stayed behind voluntarily, who was the other group that was supposed to take him home? And why haven't they been questioned? Did anybody see him board another boat? Did he remain on the island overnight? Did anybody see him enter the water? Was he impaired, injured, exhausted, or caught in a current? And if the island was crowded with holiday visitors, how did an elite athlete disappear without anybody publicly reporting that they saw him in distress? Those questions do not prove criminal conduct, but they do explain why Nolan's parents refused to treat "he probably drowned" as a complete answer. Drowning may ultimately be the official cause of death. It still wouldn't explain the chain of events that put him in the water. The official autopsy results, including a final cause and manner of death, have not yet been publicly released. Authorities are also awaiting toxicology findings, which can take time. But Nolan's family did not want the Mississippi examinations to be the only one performed. His body was flown to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy by Dr. Roger Mitchell, the former chief medical examiner for the District of Columbia. Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights camp helped fund that examination. Shout out to Colin Kaepernick. Tyler Perry agreed to cover funeral expenses. The Reverend Al Sharpton is expected to officiate Nolan's funeral, while several other public figures have shown support for the family. Their involvement does not establish that Nolan was murdered. It demonstrates how little confidence Nolan's family currently has in receiving a complete explanation without conducting its own investigation. The conservative position is to not necessarily say that Nolan's friends are guilty, but it's also not to dismiss the family's questions simply because investigators have not announced evidence of foul play. Both extremes move beyond what is currently known. Right now, the public has fragments. One account says Nolan chose to stay behind. Another witness reportedly says he intended to leave with his original group. His phone and keys returned to the mainland without him. His mother says his Snapchat accounts appeared empty, and the most widely circulated video connected to the case now appears to have been misidentified. Every time one question seems to produce an answer, that answer creates another question. But beneath all the speculation, the mystery is actually very specific. What happened to Nolan Wells after his original group left Horn Island? Who saw him last? Who was supposed to bring him home? And what physical evidence explains how an 18-year-old ended up dead near the shore 2 days later? Until investigators establish that timeline with witness interviews, digital forensics, autopsy findings, and verified video, nobody should pretend this case has been solved. And that includes other content creators who are so pressed to be first to solve the case online. But Nolan's family deserves something stronger than just a theory. They deserve a timeline that can withstand scrutiny. Because Nolan went to Horn Island with his friends. The phone came back, the keys came back, his friends came back, and Nolan never did. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. It's a sad situation that in 2026, you don't know if your children will come back home in one piece safely. My condolences to the family. This is Faucette Media.